Hi, welcome to the second episode of the, okay, I have to confess, I don't like the current name of my review series. I don't even like to use the word review for my videos, since it's not a bona fide review. It's more of a playthrough, walkthrough, overview, review mutant thing. I don't know what to call it, but maybe you do. If you have any suggestions, please leave a comment and maybe I'll change the name of this series to something more interesting. And now I realize that this is the second time I've screwed up the intro. Last time I didn't introduce myself properly, and now I'm complaining about the name of my review series. Alright, let's just start over. Hi, welcome to my second review ever made. Today I will talk about Tactical Ops, Assault on Terror, though it's mostly referred to as just Tactical Ops, or TAC Ops. This is a first-person shooter, and it's very similar but also different to one of the most popular games ever created, which spawned a very successful series of games. However, Tactical Ops wasn't as popular or successful as that game. Why? I don't know. Or maybe I do. I'm not sure myself whether my theory is correct or not. Either way, I'll talk about it. And maybe you'll leave a comment agreeing with my theory, or disagreeing and proposing your own speculation. It doesn't matter to me whether I'm right or wrong. I just want to get to the bottom of this. Before I begin, I should warn you that this review won't be as interesting and as good as the previous one. It's going to be pretty dry, chaotic, and it will be much shorter. But it should look better. I've recorded Arx Fatalis using OBS with 12 megabits of bitrate. I thought that it would be high enough for a 1080p video. I thought wrong. Yeah, the video is watchable, but in certain parts it looks like oatmeal. What can I say, YouTube just likes to screw with you. Though I have to admit that it's also partially my fault. I should have seen it coming. I'm recording this video using 15 megabits of bitrate. I've read somewhere that 15 should be more than enough, but I have my doubts. If this video will look like crap on YouTube, I'll just use 20 megabits next time. Okay, enough blabbering, let's begin. Ooh, we have music. Very good music too. Tactical Ops, Assault on Terror. Now some of you have noticed this right away, but for those who didn't, this game has exactly the same menu as Unreal. That's right, this game is actually a mod of Unreal. Tournament. Well, it started as one, then it was released as a standalone game in 2002. Coincidentally, the same year Arx Fatalis was released. That was unintentional, I swear. But who knows, maybe I'll intentionally make videos about other games released in 2002. Wink wink, nudge nudge. I got introduced to Tactical Ops in elementary school. Or is it primary school? I'm not sure what to call it. Anyway, this happened during the summer break. I phoned my classmate, hoping that he would be able to go outside and play with me. He refused and instead invited me to his place. When I arrived, he showed me that he was playing this game that he got from his friend. He told me to grab his friend's CD and install the game on my computer, since the game didn't require the CD after you've installed it. I was a bit skeptical of whether or not it would actually run on my PC, despite the fact that my computer was newer than the game. I could never tell if my computer could run a game since I didn't know jack shit about computers. I only knew how to install games and how to turn the PC on or off. Acquiring games and getting them to run on my PC was a lottery, and sometimes a huge pain in the ass. But I digress. I managed to install the game and run it without any problems. Okay, that's not really true. There was a significant problem, which I'll show you in a bit. Now here is how I experienced the game for the first time. I installed it, got into the main menu. Practice with bots? Sure, let's go. Map name? Yeah, that's quite a big selection. What's this? Blaze of Glory. Sounds rad, let's try it. Start. Special Forces. I can choose my player model, neat. I'll go with this one. The ORM have taken over a mining pueblo in Mexico. The mining pueblo... What? Okay, might as well go. That was quick. I'll just follow my teammates since this is my first time. Aha, our enemy! Time to die. What the... Why can't I shoot? I'm pressing the left mouse button but nothing happens. Right mouse button does nothing. Reload button does nothing. But I'm assuming the 15 at the right bottom corner stands for the rounds in the magazine, so that means that the gun is loaded. I know that you can change the fire mode in this game. Maybe the gun is on safe mode. Nope, doesn't let me change the fire mode. Can I attack with my knife? Nope. Pressing the right mouse button just makes my character pet the knife. Changing fire mode just tells me I need more knives. For what? Aww. Okay, next round. You can buy stuff in this game. Here's the ammo, let's get a few magazines. And some knives. Alright, now let's try shooting. Still nothing. What about knives? Throwing mode. But I still can't throw them. And that was my first experience with the game. Okay, let's stop for a bit. I have to ask you, do you feel sick after watching this short clip of me playing the game? Before I started recording the footage for the review, and before I even started writing this review, I was playing the game to make sure that it worked, or if it needed a patch or something. When I was playing, I've had this strange feeling that something was wrong, but couldn't really explain what it was. Then I noticed that the weapon model and the hand model were a bit low. Now I played the game years ago, and I remember that you could see the character's sleeves clearly when holding certain weapons. But now, forget the sleeves, you can barely see the wrist in some of the weapons. Like Desert Eagle for example. What happened? Well, it's obvious, the FOV is too low. In Unreal Tournament, you can easily change the FOV using the console, same with Unreal, though it resets every time you enter a new level, so you have to change the FOV every time that happens. But you can also change the FOV in the game files, that way it will stay at whatever number you've set it to. In Tactical Ops you can do neither. I mean, you can try, but none of that works. There is another method though. While trying to find a way to fix the FOV, I've stumbled upon some information online. Turns out this game hates widescreen resolutions. See, this is how the game looks on a 16:9 resolution. This is how it looks on a 4:3. The first difference that you're going to notice is the weapon and hand models are more visible on a 4:3. But if you look closely, you can see that we have more vision on a 4:3 resolution. This is 16:9 and this is 4:3 stretched to 16:9. Do you see that? With regular 16:9 resolution, we lose a quarter of our vision. What the hell? This is unacceptable, especially in a multiplayer PvP game. Every pixel counts. So the best way to play this game is a 4:3 resolution, even though that means that I have black bars on the sides of my screen. Now I was thinking of leaving the black bars in the recording, but it felt kinda half-assed. Then I couldn't decide on whether to have that blurred effect on the sides that you would see in some of the videos nowadays. Or have like anime babes dancing on the sides or something. Or have ads to get that ad revenue. But then I just decided to stretch the video. It's kinda ugly, but it sure is better than having a quarter of your vision obstructed for no reason. Okay, we're done with that. Let's get back to the game. Like I said before, when I first played it, I couldn't attack anyone. I tried to fix it myself, asked my classmate for help, he couldn't figure out what was wrong. The most probable case is that I accidentally unbound the attack key while I was fumbling with the settings. But while I was stupid back then, I wasn't that stupid. Besides, I'm fairly sure that I went through the settings many times trying to fix the issue, so if I did unbound the key, I would eventually notice that and fix it. But if it wasn't that, then what caused it? I don't know. Of course, now I can shoot without any problems. Back then I was obviously disappointed, though not as much as you would think. At the time I knew that I shouldn't have looked a gift horse in the mouth, since I got the game for free and it ran perfectly, aside from the obvious. I still had lots of fun running around, buying weapons for my teammates, juggling knives, pretending to shoot the enemies, doing objectives, and exploring the maps. There's 35 of them, though I'm not sure if they're all official. According to the internet they are, but I didn't remember some of them when I was replaying the game to make this video. Okay, let's assume that they are official. 35 maps. That's a big number. And they're all very different. Some of them take place in the Middle East, some of them in the Arctic, some of them are in the desert, some of them in the middle of the freaking ocean. Some of them have urban settings, some of them are made to look like a laboratory.
T-1 minute.
Jesus, that's loud. You can divide the maps by game modes. There are 4 game modes in total. A bomb defusal game mode, where the terrorists must plant the bomb and special forces must either prevent them from planting the bomb or defuse it if it's planted. A hostage rescue game mode, where the special forces have to rescue hostages that are being held by the terrorists. An escape game mode, where the terrorists have to escape to an extraction point, avoiding the special forces who try to stop them. And the objective game mode. This one differs from map to map. On some maps, one of the teams has to perform some action, like hacking into a security panel, while the opposing team tries to stop them. On other maps, both teams can hack into each other's systems, or they can just kill each other the old-fashioned way. By the way, that works in all game modes. If you don't want to plant bombs or rescue hostages, just kill everyone. Works every time. Back to the maps. 4 game modes, 6 bomb defusal maps, 9 objective maps, though 2 of them are not like the others, 2 escape maps, and 18 hostage rescue maps. That's half of the official maps. I guess the developers really like the game mode. Oh, you probably noticed that I've added asterisks on some of the maps. These maps are a bit unusual. Metal Storm and Resurrection differ from other objective maps in that they don't really have an objective. You just need to kill the opposing team. The only objective on these maps is for special forces to prevent the terrorists from acquiring OICW. Do you see W? OICW. OICW stands for Objective Individual Combat Weapon. It was supposed to be a next-gen rifle that would have replaced some of the older weaponry in the US Army, but it never went beyond the prototype phase. Unfortunately, I'm not a firearms expert, so I can't really tell you the more specific information about it. What I can tell you is that this isn't the only game where you can use this weapon. It also appears in Far Cry, and was supposed to appear in Half-Life 2, but it was cut. But you can still use it in the beta version of Half-Life 2. Okay, we're talking about tactical ops today, so let's get back to that. So, how does OICW perform in this game? It shreds everyone. It has a fast fire rate, tolerable recoil, a scope, a semi-automatic grenade launcher that has 5 grenades in the magazine. Yikes. Only terrorists can pick it up initially. The special forces can pick it up only after the player carrying it is killed. As soon as the round ends, the weapon disappears from the player's loadout. So I guess Metal Storm and Resurrection are more of a team deathmatch style rather than the usual objective game mode maps. But it's a team deathmatch with a twist. Oh yeah, there's also CIA, which is quite unusual. On that map, the terrorists must hack into the system protected by the special forces, while the special forces must rescue the hostages that are being held by the terrorists. So each team has 2 objectives, 2 ways of winning the round. No, actually 3 ways. The third way is to just kill everyone. I forgot. Alright, 35 maps. Some of them are kind of mediocre, but the majority of the maps are good. Oh yeah, you probably noticed the music playing. I didn't edit that in. This is in-game music. There are 11 tracks in the game. You've already heard the menu theme, and you've also heard Western, Urban, and Tense. And just like the maps, some tracks are mediocre, most of the tracks are good, but even the mediocre ones don't feel out of place. Now you might ask, why even have music in this game? Well, why not? You might say that the music might interfere with the gameplay, and you would be correct since it would be hard to try to listen to footsteps and gunfire to pinpoint the whereabouts of your enemies and teammates. Well, if it's bothering you, you can just simply turn off the music, or turn it down a little bit. I feel like it's a win-win scenario for both competitive and casual players. Some tracks are used several times. You can hear Tense on 9 maps. Other tracks like Flamenco are used only once, which is a shame since Flamenco is pretty good. Yeah, every map has music playing in the background, except for Salsa. Salsa. So most of the music is good, some of it's mediocre. But there's something that's very strange about the music's arrangement. I don't know if it's the correct word, just look. Tactical Ops uses mod tracker music, just like Unreal, Unreal Tournament, and Deus Ex. Now I'm not an expert, so if you feel like I've made a mistake, please feel free to correct me. Mod files are a little bit like MIDI files. MIDI files you can compare to a piano roll that is used in a self-playing piano, or a sheet music that you can give to a performer who then plays the song using the sheet music. Yeah, I think that the sheet music is the best comparison. MIDI files are just sheets of paper with notes, they don't contain actual music, and the sound of the MIDI files can differ between different machines. Mod files are also similar to the sheet music, but they also contain samples. Samples are sound files, like actual sound files. Notes in mod files determine how the samples are used, their pitch, speed, etc. So the sound of mod files mostly stays the same across different machines, unlike MIDIs, whose sounds of notes depend on the machine that they're being played on. The original mod file format could only support 4 channels or tracks, though later there were other formats based on the original mod format that had 8, 16 and 32 channels. Unreal and games made on Unreal Engine used UMX files for music. Now UMX in itself is not an audio format, it's a package file that contains a mod file. Here I have one of the UMX files open in OpenMPT. It's an open source program that lets you to listen and modify mod and some other audio formats. Over here it says that it's an IT format with 16 channels. Let's play it! Pretty cool, right? Here you can check out the samples that are being used in the song. Some samples only consist of a single sound. Some are more complex. You might think, where are you going with this? Just bear with me for a second. Here's one of the music tracks from Tactical Ops. Do you see anything unusual? Here's the track I was playing earlier. And here's this one again. While both of them are quite complex, the one from Tactical Ops uses less channels. How did they do that? Well, why don't we check out the samples used in this track? Huh. Unlike the other track, in this one, each sample is not a single sound effect, but a chunk of a song. Now again, I'm not an expert in music, I'm not a composer, and I can't play any instruments. But from the way this track sounds, I feel like it was originally made in a music tracker, similar to the OpenMPT that I'm using. Then, instead of porting the track to the game, without any further modifications, the composer exported each pattern of the track into a wave audio format, then put those patterns into a new track, then ported that track into the game. I'm not sure what they were thinking. If you're wondering, it doesn't save space or make it sound better. The only explanation I can think of for this is that the composer didn't want others to get a hold of the samples used in their tracks. I mean, yeah, it's possible to export samples and use them elsewhere. However, going through the above mentioned process won't stop someone who's really determined to acquire someone's samples. It will just slow them down and make it difficult for them at best. Alright, enough of this. Let's change the topic.
Congratulations, team.
Okay, this game is a first-person shooter, so let's talk about the weapons. There's not much to say about them, so I'll just give you a short rundown and talk briefly about some of the things that stood out for me. Both terrorists and special forces have a unique selection of weapons, though some weapons are available for both teams. 4 pistols, 4 submachine guns, 3 shotguns, 4 assault rifles, 4 scoped rifles, and 1 machine gun. And OICW. And of course, you have your pet knife. The pistols in this game are very inaccurate, except for the revolver. Doesn't matter if you're moving, standing still, or even crouching. The first round that you fire can go far away from your crosshair. I've played hundreds of games, and I think that this might be the worst pistol accuracy I've ever seen. Using pistols in close quarters is fine, you'll most likely hit your target. But good luck trying to hit someone 25 meters away from you. And you can absolutely forget about trying to shoot someone from far away. I understand that pistols aren't meant for long range combat, but I feel like the developers dumbed down the pistols a bit too much. Desert Eagle, oh wait no, Black Hawk has laser sights, though it doesn't really help with the accuracy. It does help the M16. Some weapons have several firing modes, like semi, burst, full auto. Some can only fire in semi or burst, like the M16. Not to be confused with M60. That's different. If you reload your weapon but the ammo is still in your magazine, you lose that ammo. It doesn't get added back to your ammo count. If you have a gun that you don't want to use, you can sell it to get some money, with which you can buy yourself a better gun. Also, you can sell your starter pistol and just use a rifle or something else. I mean, anything is better than the starter pistols. There are 4 types of grenades in this game. The frag grenade is good, but I think that the fuse is a bit too long that you can't cook the grenade. The smoke grenade creates smoke? Yeah. The flash grenades are really vicious. They can blind you for up to 10 seconds. And the concussion grenades. They're a bit weaker than the frag grenades, though they can throw enemies around, which may save you or screw you up. You can also buy armor, a helmet, chest armor and thigh armor. I feel like the thigh armor is kind of underrepresented in video games, movies and other media. Hey, thigh armor is very important. If you get shot or stabbed in the thigh, you can bleed out and die very quickly. Even if you get immediate medical attention, there is a high risk of dying. So if you're in a firefight or in a pub late at night, keep your thighs safe. Remember, safe thighs save lives. This game also has night vision, which not only damages your eyes, but your ears too. Here, listen to this. Ow! Ow! And you can also choose your player model, which I already showed you in the beginning. There are 9 player models for special forces and 10 for terrorists, and each team has 2 female player models. If you use them, they'll have different voice lines.
I'm hit! Emergency!
Now I'm gonna go off track, again, but I just have to mention it. Remember I told you the story of how I got introduced to this game? The game that my classmate was playing was Tactical Ops. However, he was playing the Russian version of the game. When I was gathering information about this game, I've accidentally stumbled upon something that I've absolutely forgotten about. The Russian version of this game was named differently. It was called Приказано уничтожить, Война без правил, which can be translated as Ordered to be destroyed, War without rules. Yeah, that's quite the difference. Now since I'm Russian, you would think that I would remember this game by its Russian name, right? Well, firstly, the Russian name of this game just doesn't roll off the tongue as good as the original name does. Secondly, the Russian version of the game still has the original name of the game in the menu. Confused? Whoa, this isn't even the cherry on the top. The CD cover for the Russian version of the game has the original English name alongside the Russian name. See? Here and here. This raises some questions. Why did they leave the original name on the box if they already branded the game differently? Why did the localization team translate the game to Russian but left the menu screen in English? Why did the Russian publisher decide to use completely different title name for the translated version of the game? Okay, I think I know the answer to that question, but this topic is... it's a rabbit hole, and I don't feel like Alice today, so I'm just going to talk about this in another video, provided I actually get around to making it. Well, okay, I think I've covered everything. I showed you the maps, gameplay, weapons, music. I guess I haven't talked about the graphics. Now, as soon as I showed you the game, you probably thought, man, this looks just like Counter-Strike. I guess I have to talk about Counter-Strike too. Counter-Strike is a game that was made in the year 2000 and first started as a mod for half... Wait, no! I don't have to do that! Who doesn't know about Counter-Strike? Instead, let's just quickly compare Tactical Ops and Counter-Strike. Maps. There are 35 maps in Tactical Ops, Counter-Strike has 25, but it used to have more in the previous versions of the game. As to which game has better maps, I think it's subjective. Game modes. 4 in Tactical Ops and 3 in Counter-Strike. So Counter-Strike originally had 4. Bomb defusal, hostage rescue, VIP extraction and escape. The last one was very similar to the one I showed you in Tactical Ops, except in Counter-Strike the terrorists couldn't buy weapons, they had to pick them up from somewhere. I have no clue why the developers removed the game mode. Would it kill to just leave it in the game? Soundtrack. Tactical Ops has more music than Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike has more weapons, however in Tactical Ops, many weapons have several firing modes that you can change, and it has some of the most inaccurate pistols I've ever seen, whereas Counter-Strike has pretty solid pistols. Counter-Strike's weapons also have pattern spread. Tactical Ops doesn't have that. The bullet spread is unpredictable, just like in real life. It's realistic, though it also means that the players have to depend on luck rather than skill. There's not much to say about equipment. I mean, it is different, but nothing worth mentioning. The way the money is handled is a different story. Tactical Ops not only has higher max amount of money, it also allows players to own wanted equipment. And on top of that, players can pick up evidence. If you stay alive and keep the evidence, the next round you will get extra money. And on top of that, you can also pick up money from killed enemies or allies. In Tactical Ops, there will rarely be situations where you have trouble with money. Player models. Who cares? The movement difference is worth mentioning. Since Tactical Ops is using Unreal Engine, you'd probably think that it would have fast movement. And you'd be right. Of course it's not as fast as Unreal, but still. You only slow down when carrying heavy weapons. Counter-Strike's movement is hard to describe. It's somewhere in between fluid and sluggish. I feel like it's a bit slower than Half-Life and much slower than Quake, whose game engine was transformed into Gold Source engine, which is what Counter-Strike is running on. Another significant difference between Counter-Strike and Tactical Ops is the jumping mechanic. In Counter-Strike you get slowed down when you land on the ground after jumping, and jumping constantly also slows you down. Tactical Ops doesn't have that. You can just keep on jumping, non-stop without slowing down. I guess Tactical Ops inherited this ability from Unreal Tournament. This was also possible in Half-Life, but the Counter-Strike devs nerfed that in their game. I mean, picture someone playing a game that tries to be as realistic as possible during a competitive event, and your enemy is just constantly jumping around like he's on a freaking pogo stick. Okay, if the game had a pogo stick that would make sense, but neither of those games have that, so... Where was I? Oh, right. This is what really sets these two games apart, movement. It sets the flow of the game and heavily affects the gameplay. The fast-paced movement of Tactical Ops mostly incentivizes run and gun approach. Counter-Strike's slow movement encourages players to act more careful, to strategize and use tactics. Yeah, I think that Counter-Strike is more tactical than Tactical Ops. It's not often you see a game outshine another game in something that other game is named after. I hope that sentence made sense. Or rather, let's move on. Both games have big modding potential due to the fact that they're both running on highly moddable engines, especially Gold Source. It's still mind-boggling what people can create with it. Both games have bots, though for some reason they were removed from the Steam version of Counter-Strike. but you can add them back. It's just kind of inconvenient jumping through hoops just to add back a feature that's been seen in other multiplayer games and Counter-Strike sequels. In both Counter-Strike and Tactical Ops, you can change the difficulty of the bots. I can't really say which bots are better or worse. In both games they can be smart or stupid even on the highest difficulty. I feel like Counter-Strike's bots are slightly better, but it can just be me. Graphics. Tactical Ops came out later and in theory should look better than Counter-Strike. It's still running on an older engine. I personally think that both games look good for their time. Tactical Ops though has some very beautiful maps. I really dig the atmosphere of Asquero. The lone island in the middle of the ocean, a house next to a lighthouse, wind howling and the skies covered by clouds. Just awesome. And the terror mansion is just amazing outside and inside. Just look at this. Look how detailed everything is. Isn't this awesome? I think it is. Oh, actually I forgot. Counter-Strike doesn't cut off a quarter of the screen when you run the game in a widescreen resolution. Is what I thought. Turns out, no, it actually does. Here's widescreen and here's 4:3 stretched to a widescreen resolution. Two different games, same horseshit. Why is this happening? There's gotta be a reason for this, right? Player base. Let's skip this for now. What else? Oh yeah, Counter-Strike has a radar. This radar kinda sucks. It shows you where your teammates are located, but it's laggy, and compared to the radar in Counter-Strike Source, it's just horrible. But it's better than nothing, which is what we have in Tactical Ops. No radar, no minimap, no normal map even. And Counter-Strike has wallbang. You know, the ability to shoot someone through a thin wall? Tactical Ops doesn't have that for some reason, which can be seen as both good and bad. It is possible to shoot someone through a plywood or a thin concrete wall, especially easier with a higher caliber weapon, but on certain maps this is taken a little too far, where you can shoot through a 30 cm thick concrete wall and kill someone. While it is impressive, there are videos of that on YouTube, something tells me that the person on the receiving end might not be happy to get killed that way. It's just a hunch. Well, that's all the differences I could think of. We can see that both games have their strengths and weaknesses, and even then it's mostly subjective, like some people can prefer to have Tactical Ops' movement, but also Counter-Strike's weapons that have pattern spread. I can imagine that there are people who would prefer to have both of these in their game. So, what happened? Why did one game become one of the most popular games ever created, while the other one just vanished and became completely forgotten? I told you that I had a theory on why this happened, but as I was making this video, I came up with several theories. Here they are. Counter-Strike was released first, and when Tactical Ops was released, Counter-Strike was already regarded as the original team-based contemporary counter-terrorism game. This might be the most obvious conclusion that someone can come to as to why Tactical Ops failed. While both games were developed during the same time period, which was 1999 and 2000, Tactical Ops was released 1.5 years after Counter-Strike, and by that time Counter-Strike was just simply more popular. Counter-Strike was supported by Valve when it was still a mod, whereas Tactical Ops didn't get the same support. While I don't know if the developers or publishers of Unreal Tournament supported the development of Tactical Ops, I can say for certain that Valve supported Counter-Strike, which helped it tremendously. Help from a major developer or publisher can be very important. Counter-Strike was a mod for Half-Life, which was extremely popular. You probably heard this one before from people who reviewed Half-Life. When Half-Life was released in 1998, it took the spotlight and shoved other games that were made that year off the stage. So when people saw Counter-Strike, they thought, hey, it's the mod for that extremely popular and cool game. Maybe I should try it. Tactical Ops didn't have a sequel. Let's take a game from some long-running series. For example, Far Cry 6. The fact that it's called Far Cry 6 means that there were 5 other games that came before it. Someone who's played Far Cry 6 might think, I wonder how the original Far Cry was like. Sequels help previous games from falling into complete obscurity. Tactical Ops didn't have any sequels. There was no game or mod that could remind people of its existence. Counter-Strike was more tactical and strategic than Tactical Ops. We've already established that. Perhaps it's what drove people away from the game, since for a while the market was kind of saturated with fast-paced arcade shooters and everyone wanted something new. All of these could be valid reasons for why Tactical Ops became forgotten. It could be one of them, or several of them combined that caused it. But what if there was something else? What if there was something that was even more significant that could have turned the vast majority of people away from the game? What if Tactical Ops had a fatal flaw? What game mode was more popular in tactical ops? I assume it was hostage rescue, judging by the amount of maps in the game that used that game mode. In the case of Counter-Strike, bomb defusal game mode was more popular, despite the fact that it was made after hostage rescue. There is a video on YouTube that explains why that happened. The guy explained it way better than I could have. But in short, it was mostly due to the fact that the hostage rescue maps were less balanced and the hostage's AI and pathing usually sucked. But there was one more problem with the hostage rescue game mode, a problem that was not voiced in that video. Each round has a set amount of time. I don't know how much time is set by default. The official manual states each round lasts for 5 minutes. However, the server admins can set it to whatever they want, so the manual is kind of useless in this situation. From my experience, people usually set the rounds to last from 2 to 3 minutes. This leaves the counter-terrorists at a disadvantage, since they have to make their way to where the hostages are located, fight off any terrorists that have holed up near the hostages, make the hostages follow you, fight any terrorists that may try to stop you, all while constantly checking if the hostages are following you, since their pathing is shit. Then finally take them to the hostage rescue zone, where you might stumble across another terrorist who will try to either kill you or stall for time. This makes playing as a counter-terrorist stressful. Sometimes the opposition might be so strong that it will be nigh impossible to rescue the hostages, so the only option to win the round would be to just kill all the terrorists. This makes the whole hostage rescue game mode kind of useless. I mean, what's the point of having hostages in the game if it's such a pain in the ass to rescue them? And to remind you, the counter-terrorists have a limited amount of time to complete their objective. It would be nice if counter-terrorists would get extra time if they would at least make it to the hostages. But unfortunately, the Counter-Strike devs never implemented such a feature. Just like the Tactical Ops devs. Yeah, that's something these two games have in common. Though I think that the hostages in Tactical Ops are a bit better than in Counter-Strike. I feel like their pathing is slightly better. Plus they're constantly crying or coughing, so it's a bit easier to find them if they get stranded somewhere. They can also pick up weapons and shoot the terrorist, but this behavior isn't consistent. Sometimes it happens, sometimes it doesn't. However, terrorists can also move the hostages around. That makes the hostage rescue game on the Tactical Ops even worse than in Counter-Strike, since the terrorists can stuff all the hostages in one room with one exit that would be nearly impossible to enter. The bomb defusal game mode, however, is more balanced. The terrorists have to make their way to one of the 2 bomb plant sites, fight off any counter-terrorists that have holed up near the sites, plant the bomb, and then defend it. Once the bomb is planted, the round timer counter is gone and replaced by a 45-second timer until it explodes. So say you had like 10 or so seconds until the round ends. If you manage to plant the bomb in that time, you can just forget about the time limit if you're playing as a terrorist. If you're a counter-terrorist, you now have a new problem. But considering the fact that prior to the bomb being planted by the terrorist, the round timer was running in favor of counter-terrorists, if they stall for time, they will win. If they don't, then it's their fault. Same thing in Tactical Ops. When you plant the bomb, the round timer is... Wait. It's still going. Is this a glitch? Okay, I have to check. In this round I lost all my teammates, and there is only one bot left on the other team. I planted the bomb, now I must defend it for 55 seconds. But the round is supposed to end before the bomb explodes, so let's see what happens. Oh! So even though I've planted the bomb, I still lose! Terrific! And the bot on the opposing team didn't even come and try to defuse the bomb and get rid of me. I mean, why would he need to? He can just hide somewhere and win the round that way. I guess he's paid by the hour. So what if there's a live bomb that will explode in 30 seconds? Whatever happens after the round timer runs out is not his responsibility. Alright, jokes aside, this sucks. This means that in both bomb defusal and hostage rescue game modes, someone will be in a heavy disadvantage. Both game modes are unbalanced, and it would be much easier to just kill everyone on the opposing team. But at this point, wouldn't it be more convenient to play in maps with the objective game mode? Like the ones with the OICW, or the ones where you have to hack into someone's system. But even then, the ones with the OICW just feel like a team deathmatch. Feels like Unreal Tournament just with different guns and player models and with slower movement. I'm rambling again. What I wanted to say is that this could have driven the players away. The game mode that a lot of people liked and preferred to play was just broken in Tactical Ops. I see that as a big flaw. Of course, it didn't drive everyone away. Some people still played this game, but eventually it fell into obscurity. Unlike Counter-Strike, which was still popular and it got sequels too, Condition Zero, Source, And global offensive. That last one, man. Started as a good game on a new, well, modified engine. The game had new maps, game modes and weapons, and after a while it got weapon cases, weapon skins and microtransactions. Just what the game needed. Of all the things they could have done. Of course this isn't the first game that had microtransactions added a while after the game was released. Team Fortress 2 followed the exact same scenario. Hell, CSGO's transaction model is based on TF2's model. And while neither of those games were the first to have microtransactions in them, they have one of the best, or rather one of the most successful models in the video games industry. And it influenced other developers to either create their own models or straight up copy Valve's. While on paper the practice of adding microtransactions might seem harmless at first, unless it introduces pay-to-win elements to the game, it's much more pernicious than you might think. When the update for the microtransactions was released, the people who reacted negatively were the old-timers of the community, who were around since the days of the original Counter-Strike, and relatively intelligent people who knew where all of this was going. Those who saw microtransactions as a positive explained that, for example, if you buy a key to open a case, the proceeds will go to the artists whose weapon skins are dropped from the case you open, and Valve, of course. This will incentivize artists to make more skins, and Valve to make new updates to the game. That makes sense, and it does work actually, but it also introduces side effects. First, it introduces dick measuring behavior. Now, what do I mean by that? This is very similar to the hypebeast mentality you can see in real life. If you don't know who hypebeast is, it's basically a person, usually a young man, who buys, wears and collects extremely expensive designer clothes to impress people around him, acquire more attention that he otherwise wouldn't get, and to boost his miserable ego. Some people buy or acquire skins in CSGO for the exact same reasons: to brag about their expensive skins, to boast about how successful they are, and to boost their miserable egos. And this behavior is contagious, since others will see them and think to themselves, "Wow, they're so cool, I wanna be like them too." Or, "Man, I have to be better than that fool, I have to buy skins more expensive than his." Secondly, microtransactions drive away old players and or people who dislike microtransactions and the problems that they bring. Thirdly, it lobotomizes new players due to the fact that the developers started to only pump out updates with skins and cosmetic items, and without seeing how game and updates were like in the past, new players just assume that as normal. And since the old and intelligent folks are no longer around, there's nobody to tell how things are supposed to be, though I doubt that anyone would listen to them. Players will eventually care only about skins due to the above mentioned fact, and because they can resell skins on the market for money. See that underlined part? This doesn't apply to most games with microtransactions. It applies to Valve games though. Players can sell their skins, cases, trading cards and other stuff on the Steam community market for Steam Wallet funds, with which you can buy stuff from the market or buy a game from the Steam store. That's all you can do with the funds. You can't give them to another user or transfer them off of your account to a bank account or something. However, there is still a way to sell items for real life money. It's possible thanks to third-party websites and bot accounts. Since bot accounts are technically Steam users, you can sell your items to these bots, and then the third-party website that operates these bots will transfer money to your bank account. Microtransactions can introduce gambling. Again, this applies to Valve games. Oh sure, Valve has taken action to curb skin gambling. They sent cease and desist letters to different sites. They took down bot accounts that were used to trade skins between users and gambling sites. They did this and that. They didn't do shit. Search for CSGO gambling on Google. Go ahead, take a look. How many skin gambling sites do you see? I see a lot. And the last and most significant side effect from microtransactions is money laundering, all possible by, you guessed it, Valve's Steam trading system. Someone uses dirty money to buy expensive skins through a third-party website, then sells them off to someone else, possibly using several bot accounts that trade these skins in between each other to cover tracks. This was done in the past and Valve took some action, but it's still happening. There are still reports and evidence of this happening, yet Valve does nothing. They have everything at their disposal to take down the accounts, but they don't. They either don't monitor the accounts or they just don't give a crap. And I believe not giving a crap is something that profits them. In 2019, Valve has removed the ability to trade case keys between users, which was used to launder money. Now, the only way users can acquire keys is through Valve. This means that the lobotomites, dick measurers, addicts, and players who want to support the developers all have to turn to Valve to get the keys to open their cases with skins. And those skins either end up getting sold to another user, gambled for other skins or money, or used in a money laundering operation. Valve profits from this since all roads lead to Rome. Or Valve. Zombies buy keys from Valve to open cases because they've been programmed to do so. Hypebeasts buy keys from Valve to open cases because they want to get expensive skins, which will boost their miserable egos. Supporters buy keys from Valve to support their favorite studio. And addicts buy keys from Valve because they are addicted. Artists that make skins profit from skins being opened, and since there's demand and profit to be made, they make more skins. Skin shops and gambling sites also profit from Valve selling keys, since it will mean that more cases will be opened, and more skins will flow through their hands. Money launderers also win, because eventually, more expensive skins will be opened from cases. Those skins will then be used as a new opportunity to launder money. Everybody profits. Everybody wins. It's a win-win-win-win-win-win-win-win situation. A fucking Mobius strip of profits. Now, I'm not accusing Valve of being a part of any money laundering operations, but for a company that acknowledged that it was a problem in the past and taken action against it, they're doing awfully little to properly address the issue. But here comes the golden question from the audience. What should Valve do to stop all this? I don't know. I don't have an answer. I don't think Valve will take any action, since this microtransaction model has been bringing them enormous amounts of money. Well, I'm not the only one who talked about this. Everything negative that's been said about Valve has either been met with skepticism or just flat out ignored. I mean, how else can you react to those naysayers? Valve made Half-Life, they made Steam, Team Fortress 2, Left 4 Dead, they've made Proton to help run games on Linux, they've even made their own handheld console, and they've given a bunch of them away last year. Such a great company. So really, it's useless to prove anything to people since they hold Valve in such a high regard. You would just be wasting your time and your nerve cells. Well, to be honest, I don't care what Valve is doing and how they're acquiring their money. Okay, I care enough to talk about it in this video, you got me. But I'm neither influential nor powerful enough to do anything about skin gambling or money laundering, so my best option is to just leave it for someone else. What I care about is how microtransactions affect the whole video games industry. It's been spreading around like wildfire. It feels like games nowadays are made solely to make money, and the best way to do that is, you guessed it, to add microtransactions, spend money on cosmetic items to support the developers, help them make new updates for the game and add more cosmetic items to the game. Aww, you don't like how your gun looks like? Well, you can always install mods to change how they— wrong answer! Buy skins to make your gun look rad. You wanna change your player model? Well, guess what? You can buy yourself a really badass looking player model to show everyone that you're the coolest guy in town. Your rad gun doesn't look rad enough? Buy a shiny sticker and stick that thing up on your gun. The music in the game is too lame? Buy a music kit to get that party started. Aww, you don't have money for that stuff? Well, get a job, you damn hobo. Oh, what's that? You just don't want to spend your money on useless shit? Then you're a selfish bastard that doesn't want to support the kind developers that have been working day and night on their game. God, this mentality is just driving me insane. It makes my blood boil. But you know what doesn't make me angry? Tactical Ops. It was made in a different time, where the main objective for the developers was to make the game as good and as fun as possible. Sometimes it worked, sometimes it didn't. Games were made with passion, and sure, they were also made to make money, but that wasn't the main reason why people made games. They were made for people to have fun, to take them to a fantasy world, to make them ponder on world, society, and life in general. And while they weren't as common as they are now, there were still games whose goal was to just milk you for money like a cow. I'm not a cow. Milking me won't give you money. Been there, done that. Maybe I exaggerated a bit when I said that microtransactions spread like wildfire. While I do believe that they are a problem and something should be done about it, the vast majority of the games released nowadays don't have them. But even if microtransactions take over the industry in the future and there won't be any game without them, I would just keep playing old games. There's enough of them to last me a lifetime. They're always there, waiting for you. Like an old friend or a family member that will welcome you to their home, wrap a warm blanket around you, and give you a cup of hot tea. Tactical Ops is one of those games. It was made for people to have fun, to blow off some steam, to imagine yourself as a SWAT badass or a freedom fighter. It doesn't have any microtransactions, and therefore it doesn't introduce any side effects that I've mentioned a few minutes ago. Except for dick measuring. But here it's about skills, not skins. Whoever plays better has the you get it. Alright, I think that's it for Tactical Ops. Sadly, it wasn't as popular as Counter-Strike, and unfortunately it didn't have any sequels. However, I have to say that it was a pretty nice alternative to Counter-Strike. I would like to underline the word alternative. Tactical Ops is not a Counter-Strike clone. It tried to be different, and I think it succeeded, though it still undeservedly fell into obscurity. Okay, let's give this game a rating. Is Tactical Ops a good game? Yes. While I prefer Counter-Strike to this game, I still like Tactical Ops, and I wholeheartedly respect it for what it is. And despite its flaws, it's still really fun and I would recommend it to others. You might think, well, what's so fun about playing with bots? What, you think just because I've been playing with bots this means that this game is dead and doesn't have a player base? Let me tell you something, this game is abandonware, at least I think it is, and it has been kept alive by a small but very dedicated fan base. So, how can you play this game? Well, I wanted to tell you, but I decided against it. Please, don't think that I'm a gatekeeper that tries to conceal this game from others. It's just that I'm afraid of what might happen if the original developers will find out that someone's still playing their game close to 2 decades after they stopped supporting it. See, this game was made by Kamihan Studios and published by Infogrames. Now I have no clue what happened to Kamihan Studios, but I do know that Infogrames later merged into Atari, so theoretically the Tactical Ops IP is owned by Atari. And while you would nowadays usually hear about Blizzard and Activision, EA, Ubisoft or Nintendo doing some shady or stupid stuff which usually hurts their customers and fans, Atari was also guilty of harming their fans. Even though their last attack took place more than 10 years ago, it doesn't mean that they can't do it again. Anything's possible. I don't want Atari to pull Square Enix and Nintendo the hell out of this game as soon as I tell people how to play it. I don't want to be the death of this game in the community. I don't want it, man. I don't want it, man. I have enough crap in my conscience. However, if a moderator or an admin from the game's community leaves a comment on this video with their permission of spreading the word about this game, I'll pin that comment and I'll leave the links in this video's description on how to get a hold of the game, and maybe I'll give a more in-depth instruction on how to play the game in another video.
Another job well done.
And that's it for this video. If you didn't like it, leave a comment and tell me why. If you liked it, then maybe share it with someone. And maybe stick around. Next time we'll have a driving game. Yeah, one of those. Thank you for watching. Have a good day. Goodbye. Now let's rock! You know, something tells me this isn't fair. I feel like that's cheating. Yeah, that's definitely cheating. Look at this.